Yeah, what I love about distance, track, and cross country has to be self-improvement. I really enjoy going out there every day and working hard and hope to get better as it goes. I've been doing long distance running and track since my sophomore year, because freshman year I tried sprinting like how my parents are kind of fast, and that ended up not fitting with me. So I ended up just trying it my sophomore year, and I've been doing it since.
Long distance running is a very technical sport because you have things like your heel strike, your knee drive, your cadence, your arm swing, and a bunch of other factors that go into it that a lot of times from the exterior or a spectator perspective, you don't see. But the athlete, the coaches, they always have to be thinking about those things during the races. So when we're talking about PRs, think about long distance running, that's their stat, so to speak, quote unquote. You have basketball, you have your points, your rebounds, your assists, your football, you have yards, touchdowns, things of that nature. That's your stat for long distance running. So that's what they measure their progress or success by. Every athlete's always going to hit plateaus, no matter what it is. I always talk to the kids about, the athletes about climbing the mountain. Climbing a mountain's never a straight line from base camp to the peak. There's always going to be those peaks, those valleys, those good days, those bad days. So when we hit those plateaus, it's realizing that it's not necessarily the be-all, end-all, but it's when you're hitting those bad days, you're still so much further than where you started from to where you are on that specific day. And it's keeping that in mind, that it might be a bad day for that day, but your progress has still been so much from that day one.
Yeah, the spot that I started plateauing at had to have been the end of my sophomore year. Because during that winter, I ended up getting a gym membership and I ended up working on my legs and working harder, and nothing was really improving. And I was just really confused on what was going on. Yeah, the frustrations were pretty serious because I'd keep on getting angry at myself and I'd think I wasn't working hard enough, and I'd keep pushing and pushing and pushing myself to the point where I was pretty much wanting to quit. Like, I was really having a hard time.
So when we're talking about exercise, lifting, no matter what it is, and having correct form, we really want to, the first word that comes to mind is injury, because whether you're squatting incorrectly, you might have a hip shift going on structurally that could throw something out. If you're deadlifting and your spine is rounding, that can cause injuries there. If you have improper form, improper technique, you're pushing, you're loading through the wrong kinds of things, it can cause muscle spasm, things of that nature. And we really want to try to avoid that and mitigate that injury risk as much as we can. And with proper form, technique, all that stuff, it helps mitigate those factors and helps increase performance, not only in the weight room, but also in the athlete's individual sports.
Yeah, when I first started experiencing pain from lifting, I first thought it was because I was just working hard and I was just getting tired. But then over time, I noticed this was more than just a working problem, because this was something that was happening even when I wouldn't lift. And that's why I started talking to my parents about it, and they were like, yeah, you're doing something wrong. And then they thought that I should need help.
We go back to that customized program. It would have been really easy for Nate, and he did tell me about experiences, to just go into a gym, throw a barbell on his back, and just squat. But when he was coming in here, his squats were very rough. We needed to strip all the layers back, take the bar away, even take the weight away some days, just because mechanically his form was just that offbeat that we needed to lock in the fundamentals. So when we had to take all the weight away, we had to do a bunch of things with mini bands, the regular resistance bands, and just really focusing on where should you be loading for your squat, for example, through the heels, make sure you're loading through there, pushing through there. Where are you feeling them? I would actually have him point to which muscles he would be feeling them in to make sure that they're going exactly where we needed them to go. And then when we're talking about Nate, high school, teenage, just general athlete, because it would have been really easy for him to say, oh, they're not giving me a barbell, they're not letting me do a bunch of weight, they're just giving me bands and stuff like that. But he was able to take that in such stride and with such grace that he really embraced the process. And I think that's why he's seen so much progress so quickly, because he was able to have that patience as that virtue and trusted the training process that we really had him on.
Yeah, I started to notice that athletes were looking at me like that when I started to progress better. Because when they first saw me, they saw me only doing the bar. And then they saw me start to put on some weight on, and they were like, how did I do that? And it made me feel pretty happy, because first of all, it made me feel a lot better that I was getting better, but also made me happy that others were also trying to improve themselves.
You have this older teenage athlete, most of the time it's coupled with younger athletes, and these young kids see this older athlete not doing a barbell, having to have a lot of form correction with just a coach, and they see that. And that almost rings a bell for them, and it's like, hey, this older athlete who should already kind of be there is doing this and trusting the process. So that almost let Nate step into that role naturally, because he was so receptive of the coaching, of the form corrections, of just really being able to dial that all in. The younger athletes just watched him do that, and then he almost naturally became that leader on the floor.
So for my time at PFP, I was just plateauing and I just wasn't very fast. I was actually the slowest kid on my team. And yeah, I came here and I just started PRing and I really just started to feel great. I mean, my mile went from 6:21 to 4:49. And that just makes me really happy because now I run 6:21s for like 3-4 mile runs. And I'm like, I used to run that as hard as I could. And I just really am like surprised at how much I've gone through and how far I've gotten.
Nate's progress since he started at PFP, it's just night and day. When we got him in here, he was very raw, but like I said, he was very willing to learn. And at this point, I really believe that he can almost he could write his own ticket, not almost, he can write his own ticket, because he's just so dedicated to the process. He's willing to put the work in. He sees where the work is putting him with his sport. And I think that it's all starting to click for him a little bit, that he can go to college, he can reach those higher and higher heights. And it really is because of all the work that he puts in. And it's how much work he puts in is how far he will be able to go. And I'm so proud of him, and he's been such a pleasure to work with. And I'm just really proud of you, Nate. Just keep doing what you're doing.
The training at PFP has really changed the way I approach running. Because I used to approach it just looking at it as how to do it the fastest and how to do it just the best numbers-wise. But now I notice after PFP, it isn't always about the fastest. It's about the best way it benefits you. Don't cut corners. Just make sure you always do it right.